Hey, y'all give it up for the band. That is just absolutely awesome. Seriously, man, I'm telling you, the truths in these songs, excuse me, sunshine, sorry about it. The truths in these songs, you may be saying, hey, that's cool, hope found, lives changed, all this stuff, chains falling, all right. I don't really know what all that stuff means. Let me just tell you, if you're saying that's cool, that's for the next person, look, that is for you, right? I'm telling you, I stand here as a witness to God moving in this way in my life, right? Chains falling from my life of addiction, chains falling of, just dark thoughts, bad thoughts, negative mentality, all this stuff. Those chains falling off of me. I stand here as a witness for myself saying that, but I'm telling you, these leaders and you students here as well have stories of God changing you fresh now, right? Not just, oh, yeah, I had one experience one time back in the day, but no, like God is moving now. Jesus is speaking now. His word is alive now. And I just am so not convinced that you have done something that's too far for God to work in your life. I know that is not the truth. So if you are discounting, you don't know my story, I'm telling you, I may not know it, but God knows it. He is the creator of each and every one of us that has us where we are in our lives, specifically for a reason, right? I'm telling you, for the people who say, okay, I am going to take this serious, that God has created me and loves me and wants to see me set free. For that person, man, I'm telling you, look out. It is awesome to see a person who truly goes all in for God in faith, right? So, man, I'm just fired up after all that, I'll say it. So here we go. Into tonight, Wednesday Wisdom is the series where we have been, right? Wednesday Wisdom, this is coming up on almost week 6, I believe. We're 7 weeks next week, which the Proverbs 3 memorization is all the way down to next week is the recitation time for that, all right? So for those of you who were here at the beginning, we kind of issued this challenge of who can memorize the most verses from Proverbs chapter 3. We got a couple people participating in that, and I absolutely love to see it. I know old Kendall over here just about has the whole book of Proverbs memorized, am I right? 31 chapters down the hatch. No problem, he says, easy. That's not true. That's actually not true. Proverbs 3, though, you are working on that, and I'm telling you. He was even just telling me today, man, I started reading this Proverbs thing, and it comes out in my speech. It comes out in the way in which I talk to people. It's like I'm feeding myself truth, and I can't help but speak the truth to other people. That's what happens whenever we begin reading our Bibles, is it begins to change us, and we begin to speak the truths that are in it, right? As it becomes a part of us, we speak it, we live it, and we breathe it, and it's incredible to see that happen. So, Wednesday Wisdom is our series where we have been saying that you will be equipped with wisdom to face real life, right? We've talked about a lot of real life subjects. Insecurity was one of them just recently that I'm telling you, these things are all very real. We talked about the real life of wisdom calling out for us, and at the same time, the voice of folly that calls out for us, right? The voice of wisdom that says, come into my house where it has been paid for you to come here and eat and to enjoy wisdom at its fullest. And then you also have folly that calls out and says, hey, come eat this stolen bread, and it's actually going to cost you your life, right? This idea that when you walk in the way of folly, it actually ends up for your worse, right? It may be easier to access, it may be easier to do, but it ends up being worse for you in your life. So we come to a nice, easy, simple topic I'm sure nobody here can relate to, where we are talking about how do you use your words. That is our sermon title today. How do you use your words? So if you want to take notes on your phone, again, this is the sermon title. If you have your actual notebook, write this down at the top of that page. How do you use your words? Most specifically tonight, all right, everyone, get the old seatbelt buckled on here. Where we are going is gossip and slander. It's like I just hit the brakes and everyone says, whoa, wow. All right, this is going to be personal. It's going to be good. It's going to be awesome, right? Gossip and slander. And we're also going to be talking about how to build up another person, all right? All about how do you use your words to downsize another or to upgrade, you could say, another person, right? To lift up or to cast down. So it's going to be a good one. And for tonight, if we're going to be talking about gossip and slander, we ought to be putting some definitions to these, all right? So gossip, a definition for gossip is this: to continually, get this, to continually reveal personal or sensational facts about others. To constantly have this lifestyle where I'm going over to Blake here and I'm saying, hear about old Travis over there? You hear about what he's up to these days? In fact, it's so crazy you'll never believe it. It's these overly sensational, continually revealing what other people may have shared with you in confidence. And you're going to turn right around and talk to someone else about what's going on there, right? So that's what a gossip is. And oftentimes it's for the sake of a reaction, right? It's not for building up, saying, hey, did you hear what awesome things Travis is doing over here? Did you hear the great things that he's doing? Let's encourage him in this. That right there, not gossip, right? But if you're going to be spreading sensationalized facts or stretched truths, half-truths in a downsizing, degrading way, that right there is gossip, all right? So it's used for the sake of a reaction, most likely, and its purpose is mainly to tear down another individual. And then slander, similar to it, it's in the same vein, but slander is the action of making a false spoken statement or a lie, damaging to a person's reputation. So if I were to say, hey, Blake, did you hear about this character of Travis? Did you hear about this attribute in which he is such a terrible person? That right there, slander. Or you could just say, you're trashing someone's name, right? You're totally just saying they are worthless, right? That right there is what slander is. And often what slander is a result of is a wound that happened. So say Travis hurts me with something, or I get offended by something he says and I don't like it, and I don't want to try to make things right with him. What a slanderer would do is I would go on over to old Blake over here and I would start trashing his character because of how I have been hurt. Does that make sense? All right. Maybe in your life, you know what gossip and slander looks like. Does anybody go to school? Should be everyone raises their hand. Yes. Anybody go to school? Yep, just about. If you go to school, most likely you have had a friend. You've encountered a person. Anybody have a sibling here? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, just about everyone. All right. So anybody have a relationship with any human being around here? Yes, that should be again. Everyone probably knows what it's like with gossip and slander. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about. How do you use your words? Here's a couple quotes that I think will help also illustrate this idea of gossip and slander. This quote that says, just because you unscrew someone else's light bulb does not make your light bulb shine any brighter. Profound. I'm telling you. Just because I say, hey, Travis hurt me, you know what I'm going to do? Tear him down, and I'm going to make him not like this guy anymore. Guess what that does? Doesn't change me. I'm still the same old broken, hurt, in need of reconciliation guy. That doesn't change anything about who I am, right? So just because I am to trash someone else does not change the actual hurt that happened, right? That's just a symptom of pain in your life, right? And another thing is that all slander and gossip, what it does is it makes someone smaller in your own eyes. And maybe if you're just such a great gossiper and slanderer, you'll make him look smaller to this person who you're trying to befriend over here too. You're trying to shrink the size of someone else to make yourself look all nice, big, better. Guess what? You still didn't change sizes. You're still the exact same person. Cool. Perspective for your own self may have changed. What does that benefit you, right? You may feel bigger. You may look bigger in comparison to this other person, but you just don't change. At the end of the day, again, you're still broken. You're still hurting, and you still have the same problems. And odds are, if this relationship doesn't get reconciled, I'm going to get hurt by this guy eventually, and I'm going to have to go to Eli and just say, did you hear what old Blake did to me? Let me trash his character as well. If you are never healed at your core of whatever offense happened, you are going to live your life constantly trying to put someone else down. So you don't have to say a name, obviously, but maybe it's you. I don't know what it is. But does everybody in here at least understand where I'm coming from? Just a head nod if you're like, okay, the pieces are coming together. I'm seeing how this is working. Again, how do you use your words is our sermon title. And so we see this right here, gossip and slander, very, very often in our life. And it's very interesting as I'm talking about, this minimizes this guy and it makes me look so much bigger. What's fascinating is there's a phrase in the Bible used often that says, magnify the Lord. That we are to magnify the Lord. Well, I'll tell you this much. You can't make God any greater than he already is, right? He is already the greatest thing in this entire created universe because he is the creator, right? However, in our perspective, as we magnify our perception of the Lord, guess what's going to happen? The hurts diminish. What happens as we magnify the Lord is we get perspective for his goodness. We get perspective for his grace, right? As we magnify the Lord, those things happen. And when we do that, when we magnify the Lord, we actually become more humble. We grow in humility as we see God as the great creator that's sovereign over everything. We see him in a different way, and that changes our perspective. And it changes even how we use our words when we magnify the Lord. Am I right? So, for the scriptures tonight, we will be in Proverbs. Shocker, that's where we've been this whole time. Proverbs chapter 10, all right? You see it there on your page. If you have your page, I'd love for you to grab that. You should have a pen in your chair as well, or a pen near you. If you don't, ask a neighbor for a pen. Ask a neighbor for a handout if you don't have that. But Proverbs chapter 10 is where we are at. If you have your Bible, you can turn there as well. But Proverbs chapter 10, 18 through 21, the verses we will be going over. I would love for you to fill in these blanks as we move through this so that we can stay all together, that you can be reading these verses. If you want to underline a word, circle a word, or whatever that's impactful to you, please do that, all right? So here's where we are. Verses talking about gossip and slander. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 18 says this: whoever hides hatred has lying lips, right? Stick with me. And it says, and whoever spreads slander is a fool. Now, the first part of that says, whoever hides hatred has lying lips. This does not mean that we need to spread hatred in order to say the truth. That is not what this verse is saying, right? But it is saying this, all right? So in this analogy where Travis hurts me and I'm going to talk to Blake, imagine this. I go and I'm trash talking Travis to Blake. And I know I'm about to see Travis again, all right? I'm about to interact with him, whatever. And I'm trashing him to Blake, saying, this guy right here, can't believe it. Can't believe what he's doing. I am dreading this conversation with him. Oh, hey, Travis. Dude, it's so great to see you again. I'm just so happy we're best pals. That right there, you are hiding the hatred in which you have for the offense that was taken. And that right there is lying, all right? Does this make sense? Are we seeing that? Because I'm putting on this front that says, Travis, we don't have a thing wrong. And even if Travis were to ask, hey, we good? I thought I heard that you were saying things about me. It kind of like got around. Blake told Trent, told Eli, told me. I don't understand. Like, do you hate me? No, no, we're good, we're chilling, right? We're good. That right there is hiding your hatred. That right there is not a good thing. And again, just like most obvious thing is that relationship is not reconciling under lying, right? Whenever I'm not being honest with this guy, even though this conversation might be awkward, it's never going to resolve. However, whenever we say, hey, it really hurt my feelings whenever you said whatever, or, whatever that looks like, that's the step that needs to be taken in that relationship, right? Because it says, whoever spreads slander, again, if I'm going to Blake and I'm trashing this guy, it says that person is a fool. A fool. That is a heavy term. And again, like we've talked about in this series, this word fool in the book of Proverbs specifically is this idea of someone who is not seeing God as who he is. He's not magnifying the Lord, but in fact, he's saying most of the time, I am actually over God in this area of my life. As soon as you start putting yourself over God, spoiler alert, you're a fool. All right? You are going to make some ridiculous, terrible, bad decisions, namely slandering, right? When that person is putting themselves over God. So, again, this is depicting what gossip and slander is like. When you talk about hiding your hatred, that is just straight up lying, and it's not beneficial to anyone. So let's continue on into verse 19. We get some very interesting verses about this gossip and slander, all right? So verse 19, it says this: in the multitude of words, sin is not lacking. For the person who's always running their mouth. For the person who does not know when to stop with the jokes. For the person who does not know where that line is whenever someone is uncomfortable, whenever, I don't know, you name it. Whenever someone's talking their head off. It says sin is not lacking. Then it says this: but he who restrains his lips is wise. The person who has discernment for the things that they say. So again, as our sermon title is this, how do you use your words? We see it even in this way. Are our words just an absolute machine gun wherever we go? Where it's like, well, if destruction happens, tough. That's my personality. I'll tell you this much, it's not. All right, I get it. Some people are more talkers than others. That's great. I myself would be one of those people. Whenever me and Chloe go hang out with some people, I'm usually the one talking a lot more, right? So with this though, it says, he who restrains his lips is wise. For the person that has discernment and understanding of the impact that their words have on another person, that person is wise. You may know someone like that. You're like, wow, it truly just seems like they always know what to say. And that person has probably been burnt with a multitude of words, causing some destruction in their life. And it causes them to slow down and think before they speak, right? The person who restrains his lips is wise. And then verse 20, continuing on, it says this, on that same thought of the person, who restrains their lips. It says, the tongue of the righteous is choice silver. Right? We're not really interacting with silver all that much these days, but it says this is very valuable. The tongue of the righteous, the words in which the upright person, the words in which the person who is following God clearly, it says that person's words are precious. That person's words have value to them. You probably want to be around that person who's going to speak some wisdom into your life, right? If you have trouble going on in your life, you're trying to find the righteous person to help guide you along the way, right? And it says this, the heart of the wicked is worth little. So if we have the tongue or the words and the wisdom in which the person who follows God is a precious thing, the opposite of that is the heart of the wicked. The person who, again, chases after their own desires all the time. The person who does not know how to say no. The person who is constantly, most likely, getting into trouble. It says their words are worth little. I mean, I don't know about you, but like for me, in my life, I want someone to trust me when I say something, right? No one at all likes it if you were to say something and someone discounts you, or someone turns away from you, or someone's like, you don't know what you're talking about. No one, ain't nobody like that kind of a lifestyle, right? Somebody, you want to have somebody say, man, when you speak, it impacts me. When you speak, it helps me, right? The tongue of the righteous is choice silver. And then this last verse right here, it says, the lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of wisdom. The lips of the righteous feed many. The person who's speaking the ways of God as well. And I'm not like, don't think of this as like the lips of the righteous. I'm talking about the person who is a believer in your friend group, that pal of yours, that person who you're like, man, that's a trusted source. That friend's parent, that parent of yours, whoever it might be, the lips of the righteous feed many, where they help guide a lot of people. It says, but fools die for lack of wisdom. They don't have that input, and it's their ultimate doom. And so basically, from this, what we are to take is, man, we need to surround ourselves as much as possible with the voice of the righteous person. We need to surround ourselves with people who are following God. We need to surround ourselves with people who actually know what the Bible says, who know how God wants us to walk and have wisdom in their lives, right? I mean, it's cool and all to have younger friends, but most likely you're not going up to someone who has no experience in what's ahead for you and saying, hey, tell me how I ought to live my life, right? Nobody's really doing that. You're not going up to a 9-year-old saying, how should I face high school? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous. What you're going to do is you're going to find the college person, you're going to find the parent, and you're going to say, hey, how did you manage high school, right? You've walked through this. You've gone through these things. You're searching for wisdom. Not the younger people are discounted, right? But I'm saying you're searching for people who have lived more life than you. And that's a thing that we ought to do, because not that everyone who's older, I mean, come on, leaders, not just because you're older means you have wisdom, am I right? Come on, that's right. So don't just trust any old person, but trust a trusted old person. And I don't mean old, like too old, you know. So anyways, goes back to how do you use your words, right? How do you use them? We have to ask that question. If, okay, we understand now good words, bad words, wisdom, foolishness. Now it comes down to you personally. Now that we understand the big picture, I'm talking about in your life, in your relationships. You think of your friend groups. You think of your text messages. You think of, well, it gets, man, real personal whenever you start thinking about your private text messages with your best pal. Whew. Gets all awkward up in here. A little laughter. Yep, I'm seeing it. It's all good. You think of that. How are you using your words in that scenario? Because boy, is that telling. And yeah, that's awkward too. Especially as we're here and you're like, no, that doesn't like, that's supposed to stay in that text thread. That's supposed to stay in that chat room. No. How do you use your words? If we are saying, hey, this Bible is such a great thing, and it doesn't apply in this area, it must not be that great of a thing. I'm telling you, the Bible impacts every area of your life. So, asking this question, how do you, personally, you use your words? Start thinking of those instances in your life, all right? So here's what I want to do. I want to show y'all a filter in which to run your words through, all right? We'll just start out, and I'll have some concluding thoughts on it. A filter in which you should run your thoughts through. First one is this. It's on your sheet. You can fill it in as well. First one is this. Is it true and accurate? all right? Is it true and accurate? If you're saying this thing about someone, about something, whatever it may be, is it true? That's the ultimate, like, step one, have to get that. Is what you're saying about someone true and accurate? Number two, is it helpful and encouraging? Is it helpful and encouraging? The words in which you're saying to people in that chat room, text thread, Snapchat, I don't know what all y'all use, all the kinds of things, Discord, whatever it may be. Number three, here comes a toughie. Is it loving? Ouchie. Is it loving? The words in which you're saying to others, and get this, also about yourself. Whew. Ouch. Is it true, accurate, helpful, encouraging, loving, and last, and I would say almost most importantly, is it necessary? Ouchie. And you may be looking at this list saying, if I had to run a filter through every sentence that I said, I wouldn't say a thing. Yeah. Well, might be time to reevaluate. That's all I'm saying. Because if we're trying to walk in wisdom here, we're trying to apply this into the real areas of our life. You've made a living. You've made a friendship, multiple friends off of saying things that are false, inaccurate, not helpful, discouraging, hateful, and unnecessary. I'll say it, you're a terrible friend. Whew. Again, I don't know these personal areas of your life, so I can kind of say that and not feel too bad because I don't know if I'm stepping on toes or whose toes or how many toes. But truly, I mean that, you know. It's time to reevaluate the life that we're living, the words we're saying, and how we speak them, right? I saw another great quote. It says this: everything that is said must be true, but not everything that is true must be said. Ouchie. Again, everything that is said, every word you say, sentences, all this kind of stuff, paragraphs, stories, you name it. Everything that is said must be true. However, not everything that is true must be said. Again, we go back to the gossip thing. Say Travis tells me about this terrible breakup that he had as a high schooler and all this kind of stuff, and he's still grieving it. That's totally just not even the truth at all right? So let's run this by. Is it true and accurate? No, all right? However, he tells me all this stuff, and he's like, man, I'm just really processing through all this stuff, and the whole time I'm thinking, bro, I cannot wait to tell Blake because he's going to think I'm awesome, and this is going to be great, and this is all, it's all true and accurate. Right? True, it said. If it's true and accurate, you can say it. No. Just because it's true doesn't mean it's necessary, right? So, these are very real, applicable things for us in our lives. And again, this is in every relationship. Parents, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, online gaming. Ouch. Ooh. Hold on now. All the guys said, oh, hold on. I'd like to talk a little bit of trash with my friends and all this stuff. Okay? Maybe we ought to reevaluate a little. All right? Totally dead honest. And all the girls are going, missed me. I don't play video games. Totally fine. I'll go with this one. Guys can relate to it too. But maybe it's not important to be sending that person's post and absolutely slamming them in the DMs of someone else. Ouch. All the guys said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm kidding. You might know. Hey, I can say these things because I've walked that as well. Truly. It's not good stuff. Nothing good comes from it. Cool, you made someone else look small, but look at yourself. You haven't changed one bit. And again, I'm not saying up here, hey, in your life, you can't have fun anymore. Just go ahead and stop. This is terrible, you know. Not saying that. But I'm saying, do you want to apply wisdom from the Bible in your life? Here you go. Do you want to develop trust in your friendships? I mean, come on. If you're not saying yes to that, there's bigger problems we got to address there. But do you want to develop trust in your relationships? Let's look at this list. Do you want to be a trusted friend? Let's look at this list. Do you want to be someone that people appreciate your words? Let's look at this list. And finally, do you want to reflect the image of Christ? As we are proclaiming Christians, little Christs, if we're putting that title on us and we're not living this at all, man, what are we doing? Making a terrible name of Jesus, I'll say that. You know, let us be those who speak this way. Let us be people who are like, wow, you speak differently than my friends at school or wherever, I don't know. What's up? Why are you constantly like encouraging? Why are you always directing me to truth? Why are you like not flying off the handle like all these other people, and it seems like you only talk when it's necessary? What a terrible compliment that might be, huh? No, it's a great compliment. Those are all very real things. You may be thinking, all right, like, what else? What else in the Bible backs this up, right? James 1:19, it says this: so then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Quick to hear, slow to speak. Because if we are swift to speak and slow to hear, good luck having friends. Truly, you'll lose them. But this right here is huge. So, here's kind of the biggest part of this, all right? All of these things are great. And here's the other deal. Most of these things, probably you could find a TED Talk-like thing that says, here's how to have great friendships and all this stuff, right? That's true. And, you know, these are truths from the Bible. They are God's truths on how to live in His way. So, you might be asking the question, why though? Why should I be that person? Why does any of this even matter? Why should I abide by these principles from the Bible that you're saying, this wisdom and all this stuff, right? You might be asking that, you know, why should I not gossip? It makes me feel better about the situations in my own life. It makes me cool because I know something that someone else doesn't. I know about what's going on in Travis's life. I want to share that and show how awesome I am. It makes others want to hear what I have to say. It makes me feel wanted. That's why I love gossiping, right? That's what someone who gossips and slanders said. It makes me feel wanted. Cool. At what cost, though? At what cost? For all of your integrity and all of your status that you might have, it's all gone because it's going to come crumbling down if you keep walking in this way. So why should you live this way? Here's the deal. You are a person who was born with a sin nature at your core. Don't tune out on me. I know you've heard this before, but listen, all right? You were born not walking in the way of God. So guess what? Your spirit is bent that way. You can try to come here and power through every single TED Talk you've ever heard in your life and say, I'm going to be a better friend, but I'm holding on to all my sin. I'm going to be a better friend, but I am never repenting for this because I just don't want to break it. I don't want to lose it. It makes me feel too comfortable, right? If we don't understand that we are naturally born sinners, we could never understand the first principle in Christianity, that we have been forgiven. All right? Forgiven. All right? So our why do we live this way? Because we have been forgiven. Because Jesus has made a way for us to not be bent towards sin. Take a second. Yes, it's possible for your desires to not constantly be selfish. It's by the way of Jesus that you are forgiven, all right? And you are loved. You've been forgiven even because you are loved. You're not loved because you're forgiven, therefore those who aren't Christians aren't loved. Not the case. You have been forgiven. God has shown, Jesus has paved a way for you to be forgiven because you are loved. It says Christ died while we were still sinners. He loved us first, right? We didn't love him first. We are his workmanship. We are loved. We have forgiveness readily available by Jesus, right? So because of that, if we are believers who claim to be that, this is our biggest why. Because we've been forgiven, because we are loved, now we are to be those who love and forgive. This right here is why we don't gossip and slander, because it's not loving. If we say, I've been forgiven of my sins, and I know I'm loved, let's walk in this way, right? We now love, or we build others up. We maintain a confidence or a secret sharing time. We maintain that with those who have shared this with us because this is a personal matter, right? We develop deep relationships with love, and we forgive. We aren't hurt by this person and say, boy, this guy's got to pay. But we forgive. We release that hurt. We don't hold things against people, right? And we can only do this when we know we have been forgiven and we are loved. Then we love and forgive, and we live in this way, right? So I'm going to pray, and then we are going to go to discussion groups, all right? So y'all join me in prayer. God, thank you so much for sending your son to pave a way for us to develop deep relationships with others. God, I pray that all gossip and slander would not be something attached to this youth group by any means, but that this youth group would be known for the way in which we lovingly speak to one another. God, I pray these things in your name. Amen.